there, thrill seekers. That song was called Human Music, and it's by Robyn Hitchcock, and it appears on the first Soft Boys album, the band he was in before he went solo, and the album is called A Can of Bees. And anyway, I learned that piece a long time ago, and it's something I constantly go back to as just a way to keep my fingers working, so I never forget it. But I think it's a good song, and there you go, Human Music by Robyn Hitchcock. Recently, I've been reading this book with the intention of giving it a review, and I will do that when I'm finished. I'm about halfway through, if you can see where my bookmark is. So I don't know how many days it'll take me to finish it, but I'll finish it and give you a review. But a short version of what this book is it's a book by a guy who spent a year in Eiheiji, which is the temple founded by Dogen. He's a Japanese guy, and he was not a... most of the people who end up at Eiheiji doing monk training are the sons of temple-running priests, usually in the rural areas. And he wasn't. He was just a guy, disillusioned with the rat race, 30-year-old Tokyo salaryman. That's like a person who works in an office. Kaoru Nonomura gives it all up to spend a year at Japan's strictest and most revered training monastery, Eiheiji. So I'll tell you more about what the book's about when I do the review, but different sections of this book have been kind of interesting to me for different reasons. He brings up a lot of Dogen's monastic rules in the context of this book, because he's talking about monastery life. And one I came across last night I thought was interesting. It's something that I've read a number of times, but had kind of forgotten about. And let me find the page. I do this thing with my books. I've mentioned this on this page before. When I find a section of a book that I like, instead of dog-earing it or putting a mark or something, I write it on the back page of the book, one of the last pages, so I can find it again. And this one's on page 145. And it is the rules for interacting with seniors in a monastery. So the way they figure out who is senior to who in Japanese Buddhist monasteries is according to the date you started your monastic training. So supposedly your age doesn't really count for anything, it's just how long you've been at the monastery. Now, I haven't done, and I'll talk about this when I do my review of the book, I haven't done this kind of monastic training, the kind that the guy talks about in the book. But I've lived in Japan. I lived in Japan 11 years, so I know a little bit about the culture, and my guess is that age probably does count for something. Because in Japan, people are very much revered and stratified according to age, among other things. But supposedly it doesn't count. I'm going to say probably in terms of day-to-day interaction, it's probably difficult for the average Japanese person to sort of forget about who's older and who's younger. But anyway, it's supposed to only go according to your time spent in the monastery. So here is from the year 1244, Dogen's instructions on revering monastic superiors. So here's what Dogen said, and this is late period Dogen. Dogen died in 1254, so this is 10 years before he died. So this is late period Dogen, and late period Dogen is kind of characterized by a lot of concern for monastic forms. So here we go. When entering the cell of a superior, do so from the edge of the entrance, not the middle. Kind of an interesting arcane rule, especially to put it first. But here we go, next on. When facing a superior, always straighten yourself up and hold perfectly still. Okay? Until your superior has sat, do not sit. Until your superior has stood, do not stand. Until your superior has eaten, do not eat. Until your superior has finished eating, do not finish eating. Until your superior has bathed, do not bathe. Until your superior has gone to sleep, do not sleep. That's probably a difficult one to gauge, but anyway, let's go. Maybe they mean gone to bed, And there's a whole thing, and I'll get to it when I review this, about going to bed, about how you sleep. It's specific. In front of your superior, do not scratch yourself or remove fleas or lice. Okay, that's nice. In front of your superior, do not blow your nose or spit. In front of your superior, do not rub your face with your hand, scratch your head, or fidget with your arms and legs. Okay. In front of your superior, do not use a toothpick or rinse out your mouth. Okay. In front of your superior, do not shave your head, trim your nails, or change your clothing. In front of your teacher, this one is, do not yawn with your mouth wide open, cover your mouth with your hand, so you are allowed to yawn. In front of those above you, superiors, do not suddenly laugh out loud, LOL, or behave in a disgraceful way. In front of your superior, do not sigh out loud. Observe the rules of etiquette and approach a superior with respect. When you are given a lesson or reprimand, always listen respectfully with your mind open, as when hearing Buddhist truth, and reflect deeply. Do not forget to maintain an attitude of humility before those above you. Do not preach to others unless you are instructed to do so by your superior. That is a good one. That's something people should remember. When questioned by your superior, answer according to the rules of propriety. Be aware of your superior's moods and avoid causing disappointment or anger. Interesting one. When you are with your superior, willingly take on unpleasant tasks yourself. Leave the pleasant tasks for your superior to do. When you encounter a superior who is qualified as a teacher, have a mind of respect. Do not show boredom. Interesting. When you have a chance to approach a superior who is qualified as a teacher, see that you inquire about the teaching of ceremonies and the thrust of precepts. Do not look down on your seniors or act puffed up around them. Puffed up is one of these weird phrases that I first heard from Hare Krishnas who'd heard it from Indian people. Is puffed up, maybe people can tell me, is puffed up a real English phrase? I mean, maybe it is now, but it sounds Indian to me. Anyway, don't act puffed up around them. In front of your superior, do not discuss the good and bad points of other eminent priests. Do not look down on your superior and engage him in nonsensical debates or ask joking questions. Okay. In front of a superior, do not scold another even if he deserves it. When your superior has forgotten something, inform him politely. I wish people would do that for me. Even if you see that your superior has made a mistake, do not laugh out loud, LOL, in contempt. When your superior is preaching to a benefactor, sit up straight and listen attentively. Do not get up abruptly in the middle and walk out. That's always good advice. When your superior is preaching, take a lower seat and do not debate the merits of what he says. When confronted with the teacher of your superior, be well aware of that fact and accord him full courtesy. When confronted with the disciple of your superior, treat him with the courtesy due his teacher. There are distinctions of high and low among your superiors. Be aware of them and do not cause any trouble. Your superiors will be your superiors for all eternity. From the day you first take up a peaceful life, that's to do Buddhist practice, they will be there. And when you attain the Buddha awakening, they will be there also. And then Dogen adds, the above instructions for revering your superiors are the very body and mind of all the Buddhas and ancestors. If you do not learn them, the way of the ancestors and teachers will be abandoned, and the truth in all its goodness and purity will be destroyed. So that's Dogen's rules for treating superiors. And I think these are generally good rules. I don't know if it's necessary. I wouldn't consider it necessary to follow all of these rules to the letter in every interaction you have. But the basic thrust of it you can kind of get, I think, from reading it, even if you haven't memorized it. And I certainly haven't memorized it. I have to read it out of the book. In training monasteries in America that I've been to, I haven't been to any training monasteries in Europe, but I think I'm supposed to go to one this year. Anyway, they don't really strictly enforce these rules, but the rules are known by everybody there. In a place like Eiheiji, these rules are strictly enforced, and again, I'll talk about this when I talk about the book, but you can get slapped, yelled at, kicked. You can get other sort of punishments meted out to you, rations being withheld or something like that. There are all sorts of different things. But there are actually specific punishments for infringing these rules, which, as far as I've seen, don't really exist in American training monasteries. But again, I think these are important. I think it's really, really important to treat your teachers and treat those who are senior in the Dharma, as we might say, with respect. But one of the problems I had with the Zen center that I attempted a little while ago was that respect was totally lacking, and I blame myself a lot for that, because I have kind of, well, you look at me, I don't look like a Buddhist master. If I'd shaved my head and worn the robes and looked more like a Buddhist master and been more stern and been more, forthright in that, it might have worked better. And I see why those things exist, but I also think they shouldn't be necessary. And this was the attitude I came to that center with, that it shouldn't be necessary for me to constantly remind everybody that they should treat both me and others in the place with respect. But like Rodney Dangerfield, I got no respect, and finally that was one of the things that just made me go, okay, this isn't working, and I gotta walk away from this, because once people have lost respect, then you can't teach them. And that's kind of the thing. If you as a student don't give respect to your teachers and to those who can help you learn this Dharma stuff, then you aren't going to be able to learn from them. It just can't be done. If you think it can be done in this sort of casual way where you don't have respect, you're wrong. It won't be done. My relationships with Tim and with Nishijima Roshi were kind of different in this respect. Tim, as I've often said, is about 10 years older than me. We have very similar tastes in music and stuff, and we both like Star Trek and The Prisoner and all this, so there was a lot of that kind of friendly affinity between us. But still, you'd have to ask Tim if I'm right about this, but still I feel like I always treated Tim with a kind of deep respect, because I had deep respect for him. Nishijima Roshi kind of approached things with the very demeanor that you're supposed to as a Zen master, the shaven head, the robes, he was elderly, so there wasn't this friendly affinity, and so the respect was always there. There was a time where things happened, and I'm not even going to go into this, but things happened in the group where I felt it was important to be extremely forthright with him and to just tell him what I thought without sugarcoating it at all. And I was kind of angry, and I kind of went, but even then, I never lost respect for him, and that, I think, is extraordinarily important. And that, I think, is what these monastic rules are really about. It's about treating your teachers and treating those who can teach you the Dharma with respect. So there you go. That's my talk for today about respect. So if you want to respect me, how's that for a transition? You can go to the URL you're seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my main ways of making a living, so I really, really appreciate your support. Book royalties don't cut it. I'm not touring very much, so I'm not getting speaking fees, so your donations are super important to me. But as always, this is offered for free, so you don't have to support me if you don't want to. We will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Ziggy had to get a bath this morning. Kind of an issue that he had. And so he doesn't like baths. Now he's kind of, resting up from the trauma of the bath, I guess. Anyway, there he is. Hey, Ziggy. You're clean now. Yeah. Okay.